Welcome to another gangster movie review. If you're new to the channel, be sure to check out my gangster movie review playlist where we discuss well-known crime films like Donnie Brasco, Gangs of New York or Scarface, lesser-known movies like Down Terrace or Gangster No. 1, and also downright terrible crime flicks like This Thing of Ours and Righteous Kill. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. One could argue that when it comes to British gangster films, there was a wave of movies that came out during the late 90s and early 2000s that this subgenre peaked with. Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Layer Cake and Sexy Beast are a fine set of films. But there is another crime film, made years earlier, that some cinephiles would argue towers above all other British crime films. John Mackenzie's The Long Good Friday.
Anyone guess where I was?
The Long Good Friday is a British gangster film starring Bob Hoskins in a career-defining role as Harold, a swaggering, sharply dressed London hardman who is on the cusp of going fully legit. It's Easter weekend, and Harold is on the brink of sealing a massive redevelopment deal with American investors, turning Docklands into a glittering future of casinos and real estate, cementing his future and legacy. But then suddenly, everything starts to go wrong. Bombings, assassinations, and silent threats begin tearing through Harold's criminal empire, threatening to collapse the deal with the Americans, who Harold is so desperate to impress, desperate to give off the idea that he has everything under control and investing in Britain is a safe bet. And it was, but instantaneously his top men are found murdered, his places of business and luxury destroyed, and it becomes clear that an unseen enemy is dismantling him with terrifying precision.
Blown up. He's dead. Eric is dead. A car bomb.
A frustrated Harold desperately tries to reassert control, travelling up and down the country, interrogating, torturing, trying to work out who among his massive roster of defeated enemies is making a move against him, now of all the time.
Right, I want everybody in the corporation working on this fast. Right, and I want Colin here. What's going on? They try and blow at me, Mum. Wipe out me best mates. What are they trying to do? Put a frighteners on me, wind me up? What?
The film also boasts the talents of the likes of Helen Mirren and, in his first ever role, Pierce Bronson, who had no scripted dialogue but ad-libbed what was his only line in the film. Whenever I think of The Long Good Friday, three things come to mind. One is the powerhouse performance of Bob Hoskins, full of magnetism, delicious bravado and undeniable charisma, completely in his element here as an East End Cockney gangster. In fact, the actor has spoken about how easy the role was for him because in many ways he was just playing himself. The second thing is the music, so bombastic and wild, the kind of funky track you wouldn't traditionally hear in a crime flick, but this was the 80s. It's so good that if I sample it in this video, I'll be hit with a copyright claim. The third thing is that ending. It combines the previous two elements and creates something iconic, a crescendo building throughout the entire film that orgasms within the final few minutes. And an ending so memorable, and yet all we're really looking at is a guy's face as the music blasts at full volume. After a terrific triumphant monologue where Harold blasts his American counterparts for their cowardice and lack of zest.
I'm glad I found out in time just what a partnership with a pair of wankers like you would have been. A sleeping partner's one thing, but you're in a fucking coma. What I'm looking for is someone who can contribute to what England has given to the world. Culture, sophistication, genius. A little bit more than an hot dog. Know what I mean? The mafia. I've shit 'em.
He exits the building and makes his way into his vehicle, only to have fallen into a trap at the hands of the IRA, and thus begins a slow ride to his inevitable doom, downed by his hubris and arrogance. The way Hoskins plays it is stupendous, The scene is iconic for a reason, and what confidence and ability one must have to essentially be told the climax of the movie is the camera just right up in your face as you go through several emotions with not a single line of dialogue spoken. Incidentally, the famous final shot was actually the first scene to be filmed, after the director told Hoskins the story of the movie, and then drove while the cinematographer sat in between them with a 1,000-foot magazine attached to the camera, filming until they ran out of film. Another interesting fact is that Pierce Brosnan wasn't even in the car at the same time, as both actors filmed their close-ups separately and never actually worked with each other during the shoot. It's a mesmerizing scene, isn't it? Something a little different for the gangster genre. I love the way you can see him go from what's going on to shit to how am I going to get out of here to fair play, lads, in such a short amount of time. It's like he's gone through all the stages of grief: anger, denial, depression, and acceptance, skipping the bargaining because he knows it's no use, and it's undignified for a man in his position. You can literally see what he's thinking and saying just through his face. You got to give a shout out to Pierce Brosnan's wry smile of victory too, as he studies the hopeless Harold. Hoskins carried the movie with ferocious charisma. Ultimately, it's a charming film with a simple premise, but it's Hoskins who really takes it to another level. I shudder to think what the film would have been like had someone else been cast. Lamentations are afoot in The Long Good Friday, with the movie carrying this feeling that Britain is on the decline, that things were better back in the day, and Harold feels he can be the change he wants to see to make Britain great again. He is disgusted with what he feels to be the decline of local neighbourhoods, respect for the church, respect for him as a genuine power, and the economy of England.
Used to be a nice street, this. Decent families. No scum. Outside the church? You don't go crucifying people outside the church, not on Good Friday.
It's interesting, given Hoskins' Napoleonic screen presence, that several years later he was actually cast as Al Capone in Brian De Palma's The Untouchables, after Robert De Niro dropped out of the project due to scheduling conflicts. When De Niro's schedule freed up, he was cast back into the movie, but because of Hoskins' contract, in spite of not even being in the film, he was given a significant sum of money, leading him to amusingly ask De Palma if there were other movies he didn't want him in. But Hoskins as Al Capone seemed like a strikingly good match, so long as he'd be able to nail the accent. I've always wondered what a Al Capone movie starring Bob Hoskins would be like. Alas, it was not to be, but at least we'll always have The Long Good Friday. The film still feels fresh after all these years. It's well paced, supported by that funky music, the violence is striking and sudden, and it's got a wicked sense of humour.
To keep it all incognito, they're going to collect the body in an ice cream van.
Well, there's a lot of dignity in that, isn't there? Going out like a raspberry ripple. No one's heard nothing. That just ain't natural. It's like one of them silent, deadly farts. No clues and then pow, you go cross-eyed.
Interestingly, The Long Good Friday was set to have a sequel. Screenwriter Barry Keefe, who wrote the first film, penned what he called Black Easter Monday, which would open with Harold escaping from the IRA after police miraculously pulled the car over. And the rest of the movie would be set 20 years later, with Harold having retired to Jamaica, only to return to the East End to stop Yardies taking over. Thankfully, it appears plans petered out, and the integrity of the original's ending endures. And Keefe himself said in one of his last interviews before he died that he was actually glad the second one didn't get made, as sequels are usually diminishing returns. It's quite interesting that the film depicts the IRA as this unstoppable force, who of course come out on top in the end. It even led to claims that the movie glorifies the IRA. At the time of the film's release, they were still active and were not allowed to talk on UK television. It was controversial to make films or shows about them, not just because it could make them look appealing, but because reprisals were feared if they took offence to their depiction. Think of it like a movie made after 9/11 where an American gangster is bested by the Taliban. So what do you make of The Long Good Friday? Do you think it's the best British gangster film ever made? Or does another film deserve this title? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.